Good morning. Welcome to worship with the community of First Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm Reverend Shari Woodbury, the settled minister here. Whether you're attending online or in person, I'm glad you have chosen to spend some time with this community. We come together to worship, which from the Latin means to remember that which is of worth. And so we gather together each week to be called back to our highest values. A special welcome to visitors. This congregation is a community of all ages and abilities. It is a community with a rainbow of gender and sexual identities. It is a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. We draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this space. If you are joining us online, I encourage you to create a YouTube account and sign in when you attend that way. This will allow you to participate in the comments for joys and concerns and more. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and share videos you like with others. For those who are here in person, you are invited to go downstairs to the common room after the service for coffee and conversation. That's out the back door and this way, or down and around this way into the big room downstairs. Meanwhile, if you are logged into church Wi-Fi and you don't need to be, please put your phone on airplane mode during the service. We're expecting an upgrade to fiber internet in July if Cox's schedule can be trusted, so maybe I'll stop asking you that after July, but for now, we're continuing to try to protect the signal for our streaming participants. I have a couple of announcements. CUPS, our Earth-centered group, will be doing a labyrinth walk and gathering this Friday. You can see the e-news or the events page of the church website for details. All are welcome, doesn't matter if you've been to one of those events before. Also coming up this week, on Saturday, all ages are invited to Family and Friends Game Night in the common room. You can bring snacks or your own favorite board games if you're so moved. The fun starts at 6 p.m. and people keep trickling in as they are able. So if you're looking to connect with others and make some meaning and just have some fun, those are a couple opportunities coming up this week. To find out what else is going on, you can use the QR code or links in the program or grab a printed e-news in the foyer. I want to acknowledge that the First Unitarian Church of Omaha occupies the traditional treaty lands of the Omaha Oto-Missouria tribal nations, whose sovereignty existed long before the state of Nebraska. We'd also like to express our respect to other Nebraska tribes, including the Ponca tribe, the Winnebago tribe, and the Santee Sioux tribe, as well as over 170 other tribes represented within the Omaha area. And lastly, I'd like to welcome guest musician Maria Harding on flute, who along with our beloved pianist Jay Goff are providing special music today. And we'll begin with a prelude. I invite Sarah Copeland and her daughter Amelia to come forward to light the flaming chalice. If you want to join me in the chalice lighting words, you can find them in your program or in the inside front cover of the gray hymnal. Let's begin. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life.
We almost got it.
Thank you, Sarah and Amelia. Della Bynum shares a call to worship from Susan McGinn.
Good morning. Opening by Susan McGinn. From beyond the playful summer clouds, beyond the earth's blue line, from beyond the bright moon and meteorite showers, we hear the call to look and listen carefully, to turn away from the world that buys and sells happiness, to fully experience the whisper of your heart's truth. Why not today? Why not now? We are here and together at home in this evolving place, home in this ever-changing breath and body, home in this dewy morning, even as it reaches towards high noon. We hear the call from far beyond and deep within. We give. We do not hear it alone. Come, let us worship together.
I invite you to rise if you like and join in singing number 163, For the Earth Forever Turning. You may be seated. All right, children may come forward now for a time for all ages. Amanda Burton is going to share a message with us. Our topic today is slowing down, and she has something to help us slow down our minds here with a little video.
Mic for you.
I don't know, some new friends. Good morning. Ooh, we have more kiddos joining us.
How dare they?
While this is getting queued up and the other children are joining, we can slow down by just taking some deep breaths on this quiet, gray summer morning.
Hello. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today we're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness, which can be really tricky to teach to kiddos. And I have found this Cosmic Kids program to be really helpful with that, especially with the little ones. So I will let you guys go ahead and listen.
First, let's get comfy. Sitting here, cross-legged on the floor, long tall backs and shoulders relaxed. Or, if you prefer, sit on a chair. If you are sitting on a chair, sit tall, both feet on the floor, back nice and long, and shoulders relaxed. Get your position sorted. And when you're ready, take some nice deep breaths. In through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. After a few breaths, you should start to feel nice and calm and relaxed. Now, I'd like you to imagine that you and your mind is a big, lovely pond. In that pond are lots of different kinds of fish. These are your feelings, all swimming around together. There's a happy fish, a sad fish, a sleepy fish, an excited fish, an angry fish, a worried fish, a playful fish, a calm fish, a kind fish, a selfish fish. So many fish, so many feelings, all swimming around the pond. Your job here is just to be the pond. Be the pond. It's wonderful being the pond because you can just watch all your different feelings just swimming by. All of them are okay. Every feeling is welcome. You be the pond and let the fish be the fish. No need to do anything with those feelings except watch them swimming around. See if you can be the pond now and just watch. Seeing what kind of feelings you're feeling. They just swim past, and you can just watch them. Remember, be the pond. Just be the pond. And if we follow this special Zen-Den exercise, we are usually okay, just watching all the fish swim around. Except sometimes we might feel like it's hard to let them just swim by. We might stop being the pond and find we've become one of the fish like the angry fish. And when that happens, we might find ourselves saying or doing something that hurts other people. But we're not the angry fish. We're the pond. Be the pond. Slowly we start to come back to the here and now. Isn't it interesting how many different kinds of fish we all have swimming around in our pond? So we practice just being the pond. And when you feel like one of your fish has taken over, just say to yourself, be the pond. This will help you come back to having all your feelings just swimming around happily together. Thanks, Jack, for your help today. And thank you for doing this Zen Den. You really are becoming a true Zen Den master each time you practice. I'll see you again soon for more Cosmic Kids Yoga and Mindfulness. Bye-bye.
Now, Dave Richardson has a welcoming congregation moment to share with us.
It has been almost exactly 7 years ago that in 2016, the Pulse Dance Club, a popular LGBTQ nightclub in Orlando, Florida, was celebrating its annual Latino night. Since its origin and its opening in 2004, the Orlando's Pulse Dance Club had established itself as one of Central Florida's most vibrant centers for LGBTQ social life. Latino Night was an event that drew from a broad cross-section of the community. On this festive night, coming as it did in the second week of Gay Pride Month, over 300 people were in attendance. Approximately 2 hours after midnight, on June 12th, Omar Mateen, a member of the radical group ISIS, came armed with an assault rifle, numerous clips of ammunition, and a pathological hatred of LGBTQ people. By the time the Orlando police arrived and shot and killed Mateen, he had finished his deadly spree. 49 victims were dead, and another 53 were wounded. Unlike many mass shootings where victims are random groups of people, such as shoppers or concert goers, in this case, the victims were targeted because of their sexual or gender orientation. One can only imagine the horror of the scene at the Pulse Club that night. The sights, the screams, the panic, the loss of loved ones, of family members, of young people whose lives were taken so soon. Those people will never live a full life. Many can also only imagine the trauma and fear that followed. Places that had been seen as safe may not be anymore. People having to ask oneself, why is there so much hatred for who I am? For that matter, many of us can only imagine the discrimination, the bullying, the dehumanizing treatment that took place before the Pulse murders. One survivor of the massacre says, the gay community is used to fear because they have always been chased and bullied. I'm quoting him now. There were people who used to call me things, and it's scary. You know you have your friends, but it would be amazing to know that you can just be yourself, and nobody is going to judge you for that specifically. They can judge you for other things if they want, but I feel like sometimes the straight community doesn't really understand why we have Gay Pride Month or Day or anything. We have to fight for things, for those who died at the Pulse and didn't have a chance to fight for us. End of quote. Events such as the Pulse murders can serve as constant reminders to ourselves that hate and ignorance are real. They can also remind us that thoughts and prayers are not all that is needed, that actions are also needed. When it comes to mass killings, that mental health services are not all that is needed, but that preventing mass killings such as the Pulse massacres also requires reducing hate and ignorance. And finally, that passing laws that take away the rights of LGBTQ people are never needed.
Thank you, Dave. We turn now to our community offering. Each week we take up a collection to share our blessings with others. Half of the loose currency in the offering plate goes to a local cause which resonates with Unitarian Universalist values. If you are online or prefer to give with your smartphone, you can use the QR code or link. This month, for June, our Share the Plate recipient is PFLAG, which stands for Parents, Friends, and Family of Lesbians and Gays. You may know it was founded in 1973 and is the largest organization dedicated to supporting, educating, and advocating for LGBTQ plus people and their families. So we've just been prompted to take action, and this is one very concrete way we can do that by supporting groups like PFLAG monetarily. Another gift of music is shared as the offering is gratefully received. We come to the time for sharing of joys and concerns. When we share our joys, others can be uplifted by them along with us. And when we share the challenges we face, our community can surround us with care. I have one that was submitted in advance here from Carol Ramsey, one of our caring team co-chairs. John Ruska was in an accident last Tuesday evening. He was walking and was hit by a car. John is recovering well at the hospital and is hoping to be dismissed home in the next few days. So if you'd like to reach out, cards would be appreciated. We'll have their home address in the Joys and Concerns e-blast, or you can look it up in the member directory. Phone calls will also be welcome after John returns home. And we send all our healing wishes to John and our just care to John and Linda in this time of recovery. Thank you, Carol, for that. Anything online, Colin? No? Okay. Well, let us draw into our circle of care all who are facing struggles as well as experiencing joys, even if they haven't been lifted up aloud here. And I invite you to do that with me by singing a centering song. This morning it's number 352, Find a Stillness, with 2 verses. Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. And on the wings of this music, I invite you to rest your eyes. Make sure you're seated in a way that's comfortable and allows for deep breathing, and turn inward. And this morning, I invite you to simply observe your breath as it moves through your body. And if any fish come along on the pond of your mind, thoughts or feelings, you can acknowledge them and then simply return your attention to your breath, allowing your body to breathe as slowly as feels good to you. We'll continue in silence together this way until I ring the bell. A time for finding the stillness. For this morning's reading, Della shares the poem Fire by Judy Brown.
What makes a fire burn? A space between the logs, a breathing space. Too much of a good thing, too many logs, packed in too tight, can douse the flames, almost as surely as a pail of water. So building fires requires attention to the space in between, as much as to the wood. When we are able to build open spaces in the same way, we have learned to pile on the logs. Then we can come to see how much it is fueled. And absences of fuel together make that fire possible. We only need to lay a log lightly from time to time. A fire grows simply because the space is there. With openings in which the flame that knows how it wants to burn can find its way.
Do you ever feel nostalgic for the summers of your childhood, grown-ups out there? I do. My brother and I did not do many camps. We were mostly free-range kids in the summer, playing outside with the neighbors or reading or whatever we felt like doing. Summers were relaxed and open-ended. Such a contrast to my adult life, probably yours, in our schedule-bound, time is money society. Whatever our age, humans need downtime to function well, to enjoy life, and to feel, well, human. Poet Judy Brown spoke to this need, writing, "What makes a fire burn is the space between the logs, a breathing space. Too much of a good thing, too many logs packed in too tight, can douse the flames, almost as surely as a pail of water would." So building fires requires attention to the spaces in between, as much as to the wood. Ms. Brown describes the space in between as the breathing space of a fire. In our days, breathing space may come in quiet minutes sprinkled through the hours. Sometimes we get it in larger chunks. For me, it's often found by going for a walk by myself or with my partner and delighting in the unexpected encounters in nature. Just a few days ago, looking down from the bridge of a creek over several large rocks, only to suddenly realize that the middle rock was a turtle, a really big turtle. Hearing a woodpecker drumming on the bark of a high tree. You're looking around, seeing if you can spot that woodpecker. Noticing the mulberries on one tree at all different stages of ripeness, from white to deep purple. When walking, I like to just take it all in, getting lost in the landscape without hurry, wordlessly. Meditation teacher Eknath Ishran offers some perspective when he tells the story of his arrival in America as a Fulbright scholar in 1959. He describes the shock of experiencing life in the fast lane. Imagine taking this journey through Ishran's eyes, if you will. Your friends warn you that America is frenetic, But you've never been out of India and are used to the leisurely gait of the village, so their warnings don't really register. You sail the Atlantic and arrive in New York City. You just can't believe your eyes. As you step from the harbor into the city, you see people with briefcases and bulky shopping bags scurrying along the sidewalks. Men are pushing huge racks of clothes on wheels and dragging carts of food through the streets. Everyone seems to be in a terrible hurry. A few days later, you experience a freeway for the first time, and again you are stunned. The cars tear by, and for a moment you think there must be a race in progress. You can't imagine why all those people are going 60 or 70 miles per hour. It'd probably be more like 80 or 90 now. You have to admit, sadly, that your friends in India were right. Well, the real Ishran decided immediately on that New York City street when he stepped off the boat that he would not be pressed into a pressured way of life. He made the practice of slowing down one of the points of his 8-point program of spiritual living. Slowing down was implicit in the body of practices from the great contemplative traditions of the world, from which he drew the other 7 points in his program, practices like meditation and one-pointed attention and spiritual companionship. But he felt the need to make slowing down an explicit, separate practice for contemporary Americans seeking a meaningful life. And that was in the 1960s. I'm reminded of a luminary from our own tradition who learned something about breathing space. Over 100 years before Ishran's adventure, one of our great American thinkers, the Unitarian and Transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau, sought the freedom and depth that comes from living with intention. In his famous book, Walden, or Life in the Woods, he wrote, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came time to die, discover that I had not lived." Thoreau took simple living, a life full of breathing space, to the extreme, at least for the 2 years of his experiment at Walden Pond. Now, he didn't have to shed quite as much as we would today to establish a similar lifestyle. He didn't have a calendar packed with meetings and activities. There were no children at his elbow. He even got help with his laundry from his sister while he was at Walden Pond. And Thoreau didn't have to unhook himself neurologically from the sort of technology that interpenetrates life for many of us. There were no mesmerizing screens with images and dialogue flashing forth at an ever-quickening pace. He had no computer beckoning him to the endless information and distraction of the internet. Thoreau had no rotary dial phone, much less a smartphone vibrating in his pocket wherever he went. Now, technology has its uses. I stream TV shows, and I find it handy to text on my smartphone. When my daughter was a baby, my husband and I would communicate with each other from 2 floors of our house via the instant message program on our phones. If you have a sleeping infant on your lap, this is far better than yelling up the stairs and maybe waking the baby. So I'm no Luddite. But I'm aware that this technology often fragments our consciousness in a way that is just the opposite of training our minds for one-pointed attention. And I'm aware that the little green blinking light on my phone that signals new email or voicemail, and the notifications on social media that people are liking my posts or they've just posted new things, those actually give a chemical hit to my brain. A little puff of pleasure that can create a pattern of stimulus-response behavior, the opposite of deliberate living. And I don't know about you, but I do not want to be an automaton. I don't want to react automatically outside my choice to do so. One summer, I learned of a modern cure for the condition of high-tech, low-choice living. Another member of a writing group I was in at the time shared her experience of attending a digital detox camp. Digital Detox Camp. It was run by a group of 20-somethings raised in the digital age, and the camp was for adults of all ages who wanted to get away from the situation of constant availability and constant distraction that our handy electronics and modern media often unwittingly create. Campers enjoyed a variety of recreational activities, none involving digital devices. They did craft projects, they played outdoor games, they worked on their creative writing projects. The most advanced technological tool permitted in the camp was a typewriter, which, if you don't remember typewriters, you press buttons kind of like a keyboard, but there's no computer. It manually prints onto the paper, so no electronics. Well, we don't have to go away to a special camp to get the benefits of digital detox. We don't have to watch slow TV, which one artist from Norway, where the form slow TV originates, described as a reaction to intensive modernization in nearly all sectors of Norwegian life. Slow TV, by the way, and the internet video equipment offer hours of footage of such calming sights and sounds as logs burning in a fireplace or sea turtles gently swimming. It kind of crossed my mind to wonder if someone has gone to the extent of making a video of watching grass grow or watching paint dry. I don't think it's gone quite to that extreme, but we don't have to wait for the National Day of Unplugging, which is a thing now too, to tweak our habits, though. Instead, we can adopt a periodic practice at any time of our choosing to defragment our minds and bring more space back into our lives. We can make everyday changes like turning off email notifications, checking the inbox just a few set times a day, instead of keeping it open on the computer constantly. There are even now a slew of free apps that will allow you to disable your smartphone or control which programs you can access to keep you off social media or limit which hours you're doing different kinds of things. Simpler tools can work too, like a timer and good old-fashioned discipline. You know, I might say, okay, I'm gonna go on Facebook for 20 minutes, and when my timer goes off, I'm getting off, even if I wanna keep doing that endless scroll that they've given me. Whatever ways you might choose to be mindful, the idea is that you can keep technology from filling up what would otherwise be the breathing spaces in your day. When we just stare off into space a bit, which is a good thing to do once in a while. Now, to me, the irony is that spacious living will likely mean that we are more productive and more effective. Because when we're living deliberately, like Thoreau, we can align our life to our values and our priorities and keep our focus where we really want it to be. If we have more breathing room, we can better see the forest for the trees. We can keep our lives fresh and meaningful. You and I may not be able to take 2 years at Walden Pond, but a vacation period can help us refresh ourselves and gain perspective on our lives. And when we return, we bring greater energy and creativity for whatever work we're doing in our life. If your work involves inspiration and problem solving, which is true whether you are an engineer, artist, manager, teacher, business owner, parent, or just about anything else, some space between the logs is also essential for creative breakthroughs to happen. The existential psychologist Rollo May describes this process in his book, The Courage to Create. May shares the example of brilliant mathematician Jules Henri Poincare, who would struggle for days on end with a mathematical problem. After a period of rest or relaxation, the solution would burst into his mind suddenly, vividly, with great clarity and certainty. In one case, it allowed him to establish, quote, a class of fusion functions, those which come from the hypergeometric series. I don't really know what that means, but apparently his problem just was solved in a burst after he'd had some of this downtime. Many others have repeated this pattern from Poincare, which leads the psychologist Rollo May to call for us to learn the constructive use of solitude. The constructive use of solitude and of rest. Restful periods allow the unconscious mind to work out a problem, and solutions can then surface. Ordinary living doesn't do this, as people with such constant preoccupations as the ones I've been discussing, May says, find it exceedingly difficult to let insights from the unconscious break through. And what about our relationships? The benefits of spacious living carry over to those too. Our friends, partner, children, grandchildren, whoever's important to us in our life, they can sense when they have our full attention and when we are just too caught up in the noise of life to hear what they'd like to share with us. Youngsters are particularly perceptive about this. I can remember my daughter, when I was in seminary, demanding my one-pointed attention on numerous occasions. I always seemed to have a book in my hands in those days, but if she had asked me to snuggle on the couch with her and watch an episode of Dora the Explorer, and I still had that book in my hands, she would say, "Mommy, put your book down." She wanted us to truly share the experience. She wanted me to join her in saying, "Swiper, no swiping," when the fox appears, and in singing the "We Did It" song at the end, which requires full attention. You can't do that while you're reading a book. In fact, what children want most from their parents goes beyond simply more time spent together. According to surveys, what children want most is, quote, for the parents to be less tired and stressed. For the parents to be less tired and stressed. I guess most of us parents would like that too. They want us to stop trying to do so much, to have more breathing room in our lives so that we can truly enjoy being together, to really be with them when we're with them. Breathing room in our lives is like the midnight canvas of the sky dotted with stars. The stars would not twinkle and catch our eyes quite the way they do if they were not spread out across all that vast space. Just so do we need time and space to connect the dots in our lives. This can happen when we take the time away from ordinary life and downshift. I return to the poem. A fire grows simply because the space is there, with openings in which the flame that knows just how it wants to burn can find its way. Does your inner flame, which knows just how it wants to burn, have openings to find its way? Whatever your responsibilities and life stage, where is your breathing room? Where does breathing space occur in the rhythm of your normal day or week or year? I think even if you're retired, these questions are relevant. I've noticed that people often seem just as busy after they retire as when they were working and raising families. All the retired people are nodding their heads. We're never done tweaking the balance in our life. I think this is why some people take a hiatus from all ongoing commitments right after retiring from paid work. After years of diligence, decades of a full life, They need some breathing room in which to recalibrate their life and discover what brings joy and wholeness in this new phase. The spaces in between may literally be times of meditation or conscious breathing like we were doing earlier. I think breathing room in our lives is also like music. It's like the pauses in a composition that bring the meaning to the music. The rhythmic notes that we've heard in some of the compositions, some of the beautiful music we heard today, might not be quite so pleasing to our ears without both attack and release. It'd all run together if there weren't spaces in between. A jazz or rap piece without rest would fall apart. You simply can't have syncopation without space. Breathing space is like radiant dawn and the hush of dusk. It is the contrast of dark night and bright day, activity and rest that gives to each its distinctiveness. We need both. Perhaps during these summer days, a season when we often give ourselves more permission to relax, perhaps you'd like to experiment with creating more space between the logs. I invite you to consider how a spiritual maintenance schedule might help you to build breathing spaces into your life. This comes from my colleague, UU minister Arvid Straub, who advocates including 4 things in a spiritual maintenance schedule. The first is a daily spiritual practice of 10 to 30 minutes. That could be lots of things: meditation, prayer, yoga, beauty walk, whatever it is that does it for you. The second thing he recommends as part of this spiritual maintenance schedule is a Sabbath day each week, meaning a day in which you don't do any work, but enjoy rest and refreshment. It's my hope that coming here for Sunday services might be a part of this weekly renewal for you. Third, he suggests meeting at least monthly with a group that supports you spiritually. This could be a meditation sangha, a covenant group, a chalice circle, our cups group that was mentioned earlier, among other options. And fourth, plan a 3 to 10 day personal retreat every year for spiritual renewal. That's easier for maybe some of us than others, but I think this is the ideal that he's putting forward for a spiritual maintenance schedule. How's that sound to you? Yeah. This time of year when the day is long and nature is gentle is a good time to maintain or reestablish habits that have served you in the past and to try new ones that might work for you year-round. I echo Judy Brown once more. When we are able to build open spaces, in the same way we have learned to pile on the logs, then we can come to see how it is fuel and absence of fuel together that make fire possible. We only need to lay a log lightly from time to time. Whatever our stage of life, whatever our peculiar gifts and challenges, let each of us make open spaces. Let us join Henry David Thoreau in creating a life that is deliberate, rich, and meaningful. Let us build breathing room in our lives so that our fires may continue to burn brightly. So may it be. Amen. I invite you to rise if you like and join in our closing hymn, number 83, Winds Be Still.
Winds be still.
Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in your songs that we know symphony. You may be seated. This summer and beyond, let us tend to the spaces between the logs of our lives. Thus, may we know peace and experience life fully. May it be so. Amen.